Solving a quadratic equation with complex roots. We're going to be using a formula over here, and some of you may remember it from high school. And I actually went along with the tune of Pop Goes the Weasel. So I'm going to attempt to sing it. It's negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Yes, that's my horrible singing. Please don't criticize me forever for that. So with that being said, we're going to be using this formula along with the equation that they provided us. Now, of course, remember from week 3, we talked about the coefficients having a letter value of A, and this was B, and this was C. So knowing that that's how it is, we're going to break these apart and we're going to kind of label them. So for A, it's 1, and B is negative 3, and C is 4. Okay, so now that we know what each one is, we're going to substitute it into our cool formula that, of course, you have now been tortured with my singing. So we're going to start out, we've got negative b, so we're going to have our negative sign, and then put your b in parentheses, so that way you make sure you don't forget, because in this case we have an extra negative. Okay, and so it'll be very easy to forget this negative out here. So always start out with your negative, put parentheses before you even look at your b. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is put our plus minus square root of b squared, which of course negative 3 squared, minus 4, and it says a, so we're going to put in parentheses our a, which is in this case 1, parentheses c, which is 4, all over 2 times a. Okay, so now we're going to clean it up. And I'm going to start out here. We've got a double negative, so that ends up being a positive 3. I'm going to put our plus minus here. So negative 3 squared is, of course, 9. Minus 16. And then, sorry, my pen's spazzed out there for a second. And then we're going to do 2 times 1, of course, is 2. So far we're doing great. So now, of course, we're going to simplify this even more. So we've got 3 plus minus square root of 9 minus 16 is negative 7 over 2. And of course, this is where the complex part comes in. Remember, we had the imaginary numbers. If we've got that negative underneath the radical, it ends up coming out and becoming an I. Well, that's what we have in this case. And so now we're at a point where we've got our plus minus, and so we have to have our 2 answers. So I'm going to go ahead and separate it now as we get, bring our I's out. So we're going to have 3, and of course we want to make sure we separate everything. So 3 plus, so 3 over 2 plus, and then we've got the square root of 7, because 7 can't be reduced down any further, and then our I on the outside here. So this, of course, is our positive answer. Then we're going to put a comma and select to type in the next one, which of course is 3 over 2 minus the square root of 7 over 2i. Okay, so at this point you're splitting this, and we brought our I out, which of course, because we're separating it, we have to put the I in the back. And so both of these will be your answer.